This is the second video for section 11.3. We are still using the substitution method, but this video will focus on writing the system of equations to represent a problem. Here are some hints that will help you write your own equations to solve word problems using systems. Write these in your notebook, so you might want to hit pause on your device or your computer now to jot them down. So the hints are, you need to write two equations. Some students try to get all fancy and write one equation. That's not going to work because we're using a system of equations, which is two equations. One thing that helps me when I'm writing equations is when I see the word is, I need to remember that that usually means equals. So this will help when you're writing your equations. Another piece of advice that I have for you is to pick variables that will describe what you are trying to solve for. So for example, if you're trying to calculate how many dogs and how many cats are in a particular word problem, I would use D to represent the number of dogs and C to represent the number of cats. That will probably make more sense than using variables like X and Y. The last thing I want to tell you is you need to define your variables. That means tell me, what does D mean and what does C mean? Don't just say D equals dogs. Tell me what about the dogs is that we're calculating. For example, D equals the number of dogs. Or D might mean the number of cans of dog food a dog would eat on any typical day or week or time period. So all of these tips should be written in your notebook, and they will help you write your own equations to solve for systems. This is the first word problem we're going to solve. So the problem reads, the sum of two numbers is 34, and their difference is 14. Find each of the numbers. Remember, you need to write two equations, so you need to be thinking about that while we read these problems. Well, as I'm reading, I know that sum means add, and I know that is means equals. I also know that difference means subtract, and again, is means equals. So what this means is when I add two numbers, the sum is going to be 34. And when I subtract the two numbers, the difference is going to be 14. So I need to start out by defining my variables. So I'm going to use S to mean my small number. And I'm going to use the symbol right here to represent the word number. And L is going to be my large number. Okay, the sum of two numbers, that means I'm adding. So my small number plus my large number is going to be equal to 34. Their difference is 14. So that means when I do the large number minus the small number, I'm going to get 14. These are not the only two equations you could write. There's certainly a host of other equations that would also work, but these are the two equations that I'm going to go with. Now I need to solve this system using substitution, just like I did in my last video. So what I need to do here now is I need to select an equation and I need to solve it for a variable. So as I'm looking here, neither equation is solved for a variable. So I'm just going to select the bottom equation and I'm going to solve for L. So L minus S equals 14. I'm going to get L by itself by adding S to both sides. Now be careful with your S's because as you can see, my S is starting to look like a 5. So you want to make sure you can read all your work there. So L equals S plus 14. That equation came from the second equation, so I need to substitute X plus 14 into the first equation wherever I see L. Okay, so I'm going to rewrite that equation. S, instead of L, I'm going to put S plus 14. Now you notice I use parentheses here. I'm in that habit. But because I don't have to distribute anything, the parentheses are unnecessary. So I can go ahead and combine like terms. I get 2S plus 14 equals 34. Go ahead and hit pause. Solve the equation for S. Okay, when I solve for S, I got S equals 10. If you got something different for S, go ahead, pause the video, and compare your work to mine. I just want to point out though, when you're using S's, they have a tendency to look like 5s. So make sure that you're reading your work carefully. Okay, if you understand why S is equal to 10, then we're going to go ahead and solve this system, and we're going to plug in S equals 10 into one of the equations. Now, I personally think since we're solving for Y, it's going to be, since we're solving for L, it'll be easiest to use this equation, which is already solved for L. So L is S plus 14. S is 10. So the large number is 10 plus 14, which is 24. So here are my two solutions. So S is 10 and L is 24. At this point, we're not going to write them as an ordered pair because I chose the variables. So on your homework, you're going to have to explain or write down that the small number is 10 and the large number is 24. Here's the next word problem. The admission to the county fair includes parking, amusement rides, and admission to all commercial, agricultural, and judging exhibits. The cost for general admission is $7, and the price for children under the age of 5 is $4. There were 449 people who attended the fair on Thursday. The admission fee collected amounted to $2,768. How many general admission tickets were sold and how many children tickets were sold? Now, as you read that, there's a lot of information there. But really, they're only telling us information about two things. They're telling us information about how much it costs to go to the fair. So I know it's $7 for general admission and $4 for children under 5. And I know they collected $2,768. The other thing that they tell me about is there were 449 people who attended the fair. That means 449 general admission and children tickets were sold. Pause the video and take a moment to jot down two equations that you think will work for the system. Okay, so check your equations, and they should look like this. So, when I wrote my equations, I used G to represent the number of general admission tickets, and I used C to represent the number of children tickets. Because they really only gave me two things to work with here, the number of tickets sold, which means general admission tickets plus children tickets had to equal 449. And the other information that they gave me was about money and the cost that they collected. So they collected $7 for each general admission ticket, plus they also collected $4 for each children ticket. And they told me that that equaled $2,768. From here, I have a system. Now I need to go ahead and solve this system using substitution. All right, in this particular system, I need to solve one equation for a variable. Well, to me it looks easiest if I choose the first equation and solve for G or C. I think I'm going to solve the first equation for C. So in the first equation, I'm going to go ahead and solve G plus C equals 449. Because I said I'm going to solve for C, that means I have to subtract G on both sides. So now I know that my number of children tickets is equal to 449 minus the number of general admission tickets. I'm going to go ahead and plug this expression, 449 minus G, wherever I see C, into the second equation. So my new equation is going to look like this. It's going to look like 7G plus 4 times C, which is 449 minus G, in parentheses, equals 2,768. Just want to point out that this is an equal sign right there so that doesn't get lost. Okay, go ahead, pause the video, and solve this equation for G. Okay, so now that you've solved for G, you should have gotten G equals 324. That means 324 general admission tickets were sold to the county fair on that particular day. If your answer doesn't match mine, pause the video, compare your work to mine, and see if you can find your mistake. Okay, so now what we need to do is we need to solve for children tickets. So if I know G equals 324, I need to plug this into another equation and solve for C. The easiest equation to use would be the equation we created where we solved for C. That means we got C by itself. So children tickets equals 449 minus 324 general admission tickets. So when I do my subtraction, I should get 125 children tickets. So what this means is, on this particular day, 125 children tickets are sold and 324 general admission tickets were sold to the county fair. Here's the last question you have to do on your own. Solve this system using substitution. Show Mrs. Koenig when you have completed your work. If it is correct, you are ready for your homework tonight. Tanisha has 70 coins, all quarters and dimes. There are 30 more quarters than dimes. Find the number of each type of coin.